You, my friend, are listening to episode 86 of On Purpose with Alex Beadon. This week, I speak to Kat Gaskin, the creator of the Content Planner. The Content Planner is the first and only physical planning system for your blog and social content. With a six-figure e-commerce brand and a recent $75,000 launch, with less than $2,000 in ad spend, Kat knows what she's talking about when it comes to selling and marketing. You'll also have heard of Kat because she is the one who encouraged me to try a first purchaser promotion for the launch of Project Storyline, where the first person who joins Project Storyline would get $250 in cash and their entire year of Project Storyline for free, which resulted in my highest day of sales from my entire launch, which is crazy because normally that's the last day. And because of this strategy, I made the most amount of money on the first day. And it's all because of the strategy that we're going to talk about in this episode. Kat is a marketing genius. And in this episode, she shares the exact breakdown of her launch strategy, including a timeline and the specific details of what was offered to incentivize sales. She shared her secret to building momentum during a launch, and she shares how her landing the opportunity of being a guest here on this podcast was actually 2 years in the making. Whether you're a physical or digital product-based business or a service-based business, you are going to learn so much about sales, marketing, and content creation from this jam-packed episode. This is On Purpose, episode 86. Do you ever feel like you're trying to balance it all? Nourishing your health while growing your business and living a life well lived? And no matter how hard you try, sometimes you slip from purpose-driven into autopilot. Take a deep breath, relax, and let's get you back to where you belong. On purpose. Before we dive into the epicness of this week's episode, I just want to remind you guys that if you are not on my email list, you are truly missing out. I send my best content to my email list. You can join for free at alexviplist.com. I also just want to remind you guys that this epic episode has show notes where you can go and learn more about the episode and find links to what it is that we spoke about. So I want to encourage you to go there. You can find them at podcast.alexbeadon.com. And just remember that this is episode 86. Okay, guys, enjoy this episode. Kat, welcome to On Purpose with Alex Beadon.
Thank you so much, Alex. I cannot wait. This is basically a party on a Thursday and everyone listening is invited. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to just chat and talk to you. This has been 2 years in the making. I've literally had you on my hit list for 2 years. And now this is happening.
I'm like, yes, we need to follow up on all of your advice about hit lists and how you do these things. But before we jump into all of that, I'm going to ask you the same question I love to ask all of my guests at the very beginning. What is the most nourishing part of having your own business?
The freedom to work anytime I want, wherever I want, and being able to serve people who are exactly like me.
I would love for you to kind of dive into what freedoms are your favorites that your business allows you to have.
Yeah. So with my business, I started out as a freelance graphic designer, and that led into content creation. And now I run an e-commerce business. And I've made sure since day one that they were all remote. So I run everything from my laptop and from my phone. And a lot of my presence is actually in the United States. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, but I built my businesses so that I could work with clients from all over the world. And that's allowed me to travel to the beach whenever I want. I've been to Hawaii a ton of times. It's just like, that's where my creativity lives. That's where my soul is happiest. And I'm able to even just spend time with my family whenever I want. Both my parents are retired and I have a niece and nephew, so I can babysit at any time. I can go visit them whenever I like. And when I used to work full time, I didn't have that freedom to just pick up and go or book a plane ticket tomorrow. I had to get approval for vacation and I wasn't even sure if I would get it. And they would limit to 3 weeks a year. So the freedom for me, you know, aside from the money and aside from serving the people who I truly love, it's the feeling of absolute freedom and also control.
And how long have you been full-time as an entrepreneur?
So I've been working full time for myself for 7 years. I actually just celebrated the 7th birthday of Salty Pineapple, which is my personal brand. So 7 years ago on October 12th was day one of this wild, wild ride.
That's so cool. And so when you started with the salty pineapple, was that like, did you immediately jump into full-time or was that a process?
Yeah, so it was definitely a process. I had been doing part-time freelance work even in my last year of university. So I was doing multimedia design and production, quote unquote, which is essentially a program in university and college. So you did both. It was a joint program where they taught you just the basics of graphic design, web development, video editing. And I realized I loved graphic design. I loved web design. And I dove right into that in my 4th year of university. So I was starting the building blocks of my freelance business. And then I worked full time for 3.5 years. But it was at my desk job where I just had that aha moment. And I said, wow, I'm so bored and I'm being so underutilized. My creativity is being put towards email marketing and really corporate looking design. I was working for the College of Physiotherapists and I have no background in physiotherapy. If you look at my account now, my style is very tropical, Hawaii, pineapples, sunsets, super colorful and bright. So at that time, I just decided, I was like, I have to start planning to quit my job. So it took 1.5 years. And that's something I always try and tell people, that everyone's journey is different. This didn't happen overnight for me. I planned and I saved for 1.5 years because I had a house, I had a car, I had fixed expenses. I wasn't just going to transition overnight into this lifestyle because I knew that once I did it and once I committed to it, that it was going to be for the rest of my life.
Wow. I love that. I love that you're like, this did not happen overnight. This was a very long time coming.
No, it's fucking long. Like it's just really long.
That was like, I just posted this post all about my journey and how it's literally taken me like 10 years to finally feel like, okay, I'm on good, solid ground.
I loved that post. And so let me ask you, what inspired you to post that to your followers? Because it's very different than the content that you normally post.
Yeah. So this is actually bringing up a really great topic about my new content strategy. I'm so tired of coming up with new content for my feed that I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take the content that's already on my stories that I've already created, and I'm just going to literally copy paste it and turn it into a feed post. And that post was the first post that I did like that. I got it from, so I've been doing Biz Bestie Fridays where I let people ask me questions and I answer like maybe 15 to 20 questions. And then I just looked at the 15 to 20 questions from that week and I was like, which one's got the most responses? This one got the most response. Cool. I'm turning it into a feed post. And Kat, it is my most popular feed post. I was like, oh my God, this strategy, which I only use to make my life easier.
Yes.
Now giving me my most popular posts. So fantastic. #winning.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like business owners forget to tell their story. A lot of the time, they're so focused on creating new and shiny and original content, but they don't realize that their story is the most original thing that they can share. Like your story is so unique and you don't share that enough. Like I might call you out a little bit.
Good. I'm glad.
And it's like the early beginnings of you as a wedding photographer. Like when you shared that in your stories, I was like, wow, this is something Alex needs to be sharing more of, just because you weren't born like in this industry or as a marketer. Like you genuinely put one foot in front of the other.
It's so funny because when I first transitioned so I did photography, then I sold Photoshop actions. That was like my first digital product business. And then I moved into online marketing. I had made such a name for myself as a photographer that I didn't want to tell anyone I was a photographer because I didn't want anyone to associate me as a photographer. And I think that fear carried on with me for a very long time. It's only recently that I've been like, oh my gosh, like I need to be telling this story because it's actually really impressive that I had a digital product business before that was successful and that I didn't just like jump into this space as like an online business coach.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
you live and learn, but you're 100% right. Your story is so important to tell. And I think the hard part as well is when you are in your own body, which we all are, you think that everyone knows your story, or you think your story's not good enough, or it's not exciting enough, or, there's like so many excuses that you give to yourself as to why no one would care about your story.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And I think what helps me with the whole mindset of, oh, my story's not good enough is that nobody has my story. No one has my journey of the past 7 years. Like your story and how you got to where you are is the most unique thing about your business.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you show up every day on Instagram or Facebook or with your emails and share that with your community? Because I mean, marketing 101, people understand things through narratives and storytelling. It's called Instagram stories, like tell a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So that's something I always try and remind people. It's like, when's the last time you talked about yourself? When's the last time you introduced yourself?
Yeah. Oh, so, so good. Someone wrote to me the other day on Biz Bestie Friday and they were like, I feel so awkward every time I introduce myself. I really don't want to reintroduce myself. But we expect that all of our followers know who we are. But the truth is, a lot of them probably just randomly found our account, decided to follow us, and then completely forgot about us, Like
Exactly.
they're not all stalking us. They're not all watching our every move. Like it's our job to educate them on who we are and capitalize on that attention.
Yes, absolutely. It's your sole responsibility as a business owner because no one else is going to talk about your business the way that you can. Like even if I tried to explain what you do, it's going to be way different than if I were to show up for myself.
Yeah. And when you introduce yourself, you are making it easier for other people to talk about you positively behind your back and retell your story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we're responsible for teaching other people the stories we want them to tell about us. Okay. I want to talk to you about launch strategy because everyone who is an avid listener of the podcast, this is episode 86. You will have listened probably from episode 80 to 84. I was talking very heavily about being in launch mode, launching Project Storyline, and really just sharing my strategies, everything that was happening behind the scenes, what worked, what didn't work. And you will have heard me mention Kat's name about 1,000,000 times.
That was unpaid organic.
Yes, unpaid. So I want to also give the story of this because it's so freaking beautiful. So I don't even know if you know this, but one day I decided, oh my gosh, I never go and look at the stories of the people who are watching my stories. And it's actually one of the easiest things to do because you just go and you look at the list and the people who have stories have that like multicolor circle around their icon. You tap on it and it just takes you straight to their stories. You can watch their stories, comment, da 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 da. So I'm not going to lie, I probably spent like 3 hours doing this one day because it was just so much fun. And it was cool to see that there are so many cool people following me and watching my stories. And that is how I stumbled upon your stories initially, was through that. So, of course, I'd heard of you before. I know that you had sent me the content planner probably, I want to say like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was two. You have the teal one, which was
I
the
do.
2017, 2018.
Right. So I have the teal one. I knew that you had sent it to me. You had been like on my radar, but it wasn't until I saw whatever story it was that I saw that I was like, okay, cool. I think I followed you at that point. I can't really remember what the story was or what it was about, but I know that it caught my attention. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is sharing excellent content. I really want to follow. So I followed. From there, of course, you're now popping up in my stories. And I'm seeing that you're implementing this incredible strategy that I've never seen anyone use before. And just FYI, guys, I'm a marketing lover. Like I'm always looking to see what people are doing with their marketing. I'm always trying to see if anyone's doing anything different because in the online space, in the online marketing space, so many people are doing the exact same thing. And yes, like if something works and everyone else is doing it, cool. But I was just so excited to see you doing something differently. And so, of course, I DM Kat and I'm like, yo, Kat, this is awesome. Tell me more. What's the strategy behind this? And then she shared some incredible stats with me. I can't remember what it was, but I think you were like, yeah, I did this last year and I made like $16,000 in 4 minutes or something ridiculous. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try this for my own launch. Is that okay? And you were like, yes, use it. Such a cheerleader, Kat is. Like, she was just like, take it, run with it, make it your own, and let me know how it goes. And so that's how we kind of got to talking. And I was just so impressed. I think in that first voice note exchange, I was like, dude, I need to have you on the podcast. Like, you obviously know what you're talking about. We're having a great marketing conversation. The whole world needs to hear it. Little did I know, like, how powerful the strategy would end up being and how successful it would end up being. So just to kind of give you guys the stats and also to give Kat the stats, because she doesn't.
Ooh, I'm going to write this down.
Write it down. So in the first day of my launch, so this is when the cart opens, this is when they can actually sign up and join Project Storyline. We made $15,304, right? And bearing in mind as well that it wasn't a full day because we opened the cart at 5 p.m. So it was actually 7 hours. In 7 hours, we made $15,304, right? That was our most profitable day of the entire launch.
Wow.
This has never happened to me before. So
wow.
To kind of put it into perspective, normally I get the most sales on the very last day. And to give you like as much of the honest truth as possible, we got more orders on the last day, but we made more money on the first day because we did the entire like 15% off. And I realized afterwards, Kat, that I did your strategy completely wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what's so impressive about it is that even though I really didn't know what I was doing and I was just kind of like looking at what you were doing and going from there, it still did so, like, I didn't put that much effort into it and it did so freaking well. And so now I'm thinking, geez, like if I actually put a good amount of effort into this could really do well. So before we get carried away with ourselves, I would love for you to explain to everyone what the strategy is and how you came up with this brilliant idea.
Yes. Well, first of all, congrats. And I'm so lucky that you messaged me. And for anyone's listening, it all goes down in the DMs. You never know who is going to message you. And that's why Instagram is so powerful. And that's why I love it. So side note, that was incredible. And second of all, so how I started with launches, I have zero background in marketing or business or any sort of launch strategy. Google and YouTube are your best friends. I have spent hours and hours looking up other people's launch strategies, talking about what worked for them, and I just started implementing them. So the content planner, that was the fourth round. So I just launched pre-orders for the 2020 version.
And just pause for a second, just so that everyone is aware. The content planner is a physical product, guys.
Yes, it is.
I know everyone loves to tell me, oh, Alex, it's so easy for you because you have a digital product. It's like, no, like all of these same tactics can be applied to physical products too. So for all of y'all who are giving yourself that excuse, please perk up and pay attention. Carry on, Kat.
Yes. So the content planner, it's a physical planner. A lot of people think, oh, it's a digital template. It's a digital platform. No, it's a physical thing that you hold in your hand that you write down your content plan. Thank you. And so the first year that I launched it, it was 2016, 2017. I put it out into the world with no launch plan and I heard crickets. Like nobody was coming to my store. At the time, I started like everyone else with zero Instagram followers. I had experience with my own personal brand growing my following. I think at the time they had 40,000 followers. So it wasn't huge. It wasn't like 300,000 or a million or anything, but I was so determined to just attract my ideal customer. Like I didn't want any spam followers. I just wanted my people to come follow me and engage with my content. So I got my first sale. It took about a month and I was like, okay, one person bought it. Shout out to Juliet Augustin. I don't know if she's going to be listening, but she was my very first customer. She's from Hawaii. I remember all of my first customers. And she bought the planner in September of, that was 2016 or 2017. I can't remember. They all kind of go together. And so the next year when it was getting time to launch again, I was like, I have this planner and I know that I can use it to really map out a solid launch strategy. So I used the content planner to launch the next content planner, which is very meta and I love it. And my goal was to do $10,000. I was like, if I could do $10,000 in 1 week, so it goes on pre-order for 1 week and then I close the cart. And then you have to wait until it officially launches. And what I did was, it wasn't as elaborate as it is now, but I made sure my email list knew what was happening. And there was a separate VIP launch opposed to a public launch. So the VIP launch is everyone on my mailing list gets to shop a secret link, and then it'll launch to the public like halfway through the week. So if you're on my mailing list, you get the best deal throughout the entire year. I've been really meticulous about discounting my product. I never discount it ever throughout the entire year because it's just not the kind of culture I want to create. And I don't want my planner to always be available. I don't want it to always be on sale. I want to be able to teach people like, this is when you buy it. And next year, this is the exact time you're going to buy it again. So the first year that I actually had a content plan, I did $10,000. And I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. I've never launched anything before. This was my first physical product and it was really successful. And I was like, I probably could take this formula and just refine it a little bit and apply it to the next year, like cut and paste. Let's see how it goes. It's pretty scalable. So the next year comes around. So I did $0 first year. I did $10,000 this second year. And then the next year I was like, okay, I'm really going to give this all that I have and see what happens. So I used my content planner again to plan out my content plan. I made sure that the months leading up, so I wasn't just doing it 2 weeks in advance or 3 weeks. It was like months and months of preparing my community for this one date. So 2018 was September 13th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is when you would be able to pre-order my product at a discount. So this time I added, I think it was 10% off. They got a free gold diamond pen. And I still had that separation of if you're on the list, you get a better discount than if you are just shopping for the public pre-sale. So I did that. And I was getting a lot better at launching things because I only launched this once a year. So I really put my all into it. And that year I did $42,000 in a week. So that was last year's launch of 42,000. And so this year's launch, I was like, okay, now I've done this 2 years in a row. This is going to be my third time launching. How can I refine and dedicate myself and see what works and see what didn't? Oh, and I forgot to mention last year's launch strategy. I incentivized when the cart would open, they would win $250, which seemed to work really, really well. I get most of my sales within the first hour of the
and
sale
just to
happening.
be clear for everyone listening, that incentive, I almost said that incentivization.
That incentive.
Of the $250, that's for the very first person who joins.
Yes. So the very first person who purchases the content planner of the pre-sale, they not only win their entire order, they also win $250 US straight to their PayPal, like literally within hours. And then they also get bragging rights to be the first customer of the year. And I started using that last year and I realized like, wow, this is actually really powerful. And so I applied that same concept to this year's launch, except this year they won $500 US. So each year I'm going to raise that amount because I think it's so fun to be able to, yes, I'm making a lot of money in my business, but I also want to pay it forward to the people who are so dialed in and focused on engaging with my business. And so this year I did $500 for the first customer. Everyone on the VIP list received a better discount than everyone shopping the public pre-sale. And I did $32,264 in the first hour of my sale. So last year it took a whole entire week to do 42,000. And this year I did $32,000 within the first hour, and 16,000 of those dollars, so half of that, happened in the first 4 minutes. And that's when I
Oh
was
my
like, I
God.
got it. I got this. So the entire pre-sale, I did $75,000, 513.99. So it's growing. It took 4 years. I'm here. I've arrived. And now I have this launch plan that lives in my content planner. And I just continue to tweak it a little bit and refine it. But launching has become my new favorite thing.
Yeah. And I can see why.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's really, really fun. It took about 9 months of work. So I started planning for the launch in January, and then I loosely started to put things together, and then I launched it in September. So it did not happen overnight. This was me showing up on Instagram because that's my platform of choice. Showing up on Instagram every single day, probably for the past 6 months leading up to that September date, and providing my community with content and teaching them something, giving them value, showing them how to use my product, sharing testimonials and reviews. It was a really, really big buildup. And I also involved my community a lot. So they actually voted in the colors for the content planner. I didn't choose them. I have a voting week where they vote on Instagram stories which color they want for the next year. And that did really well because last year Instagram stories didn't have the poll feature. So this year I was really able to utilize that. So that was back in July. It was back in April that they voted. So they were involved right from the beginning, which I think is very important for a small business. It's just me. I don't really have a team of people. I do all of our marketing and Instagram and design. So I am very connected to my business. We don't need a lot of money. I think, Alex, I love how you share your Facebook ads numbers. So I'm going to share mine as well. I hired a Facebook ads marketing expert this time around. And I spent the number is $1,900.97. So I spent that much money on paid advertising. And then I did $75,000 in sales. So for me, that's not a lot of money. And honestly, a lot of the traffic did not come from my Facebook ads. It just came from organic Instagram posts and my email list.
Okay, I have so many questions. You should see my notes. They're just I'm like, okay, I need to do this in a way that is actually organized and makes sense. So let's begin with, I just want you to very clearly break down exactly what the launch strategy is. So that if someone is thinking, okay, I want to replicate something similar to this, that they know exactly what it is. So essentially what you're saying is you have a pre-order period. Yes. Where people, and what I love about what you did too, Kat, is you were like, if you want to pre-order, you need to get on the wait list. If you're not on the wait list by this date, you're going to miss the pre-order. And I think you closed it off, the day before?
Yeah, so I closed it off the day, but I left an entire day for it to be closed right before the pre-sale. So it happened on September 12th. So I closed it on September 10th.
That was brilliant. And that's something that I didn't do. I didn't even think about having a wait list or anything like that. I was just like, the way that I was thinking of implementing your strategy was just the first person who buys gets $250. And
that's like one piece of it.
Yeah, but there's this whole other beautiful, brilliant piece of having the wait list and giving people that hard deadline of you need to join. And if you don't join, don't say I didn't tell you because I warned you 1,000,001 times.
Legit. I probably 1,000,002. There is no way that people didn't know about Thursday at September 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I said it every day for 30 days leading up to the sale.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I was posting about it and they were seeing a ton of ads. So how it works is starting on August 1st. So they had an entire month to get on the pre-sale list. And I call it the private pre-sale list. You can call it whatever you want. For me, I like the word private. You can call it VIP, you can call it exclusive, you can call it closed, whatever works for your business. Call it something different so that people know that they're part of this club. They're part of this secret society that not everyone is necessarily a part of. That way you're creating some sort of exclusivity with your product, with your marketing, and have it be your mailing list, because at the end of the day, Instagram might not exist tomorrow, or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, but you will always have your mailing list. And at that time, I grew it to 10,000 email subscribers, which isn't very big in my opinion. I know some people, they have like 50,000, 100,000. But again, my whole philosophy about content and numbers is if you just attract your people, you won't need a lot of followers, or you don't need a lot of numbers. So I had 10,000 people on my private pre-sale list. And once September 12th hit, they got a private link to shop on the website. So it wasn't searchable on my website. You couldn't Google it. You could send it to your friends, but if you go above and beyond and send it to your friends, go right ahead. You can totally buy it. But it was a secret page. It's something that you couldn't access unless you had the link. And right at 5 p.m., it goes live, and whoever buys first wins the $500. They win their entire order. And so that happens for 4 days. So from Thursday to Sunday, I found that with my community, and this just goes to show you really need to know who your target audience is. You need to know your customers. You need to know what their lifestyle is. And I know that Thursday at 5 p.m. is a great time for my people because I have global customers. They're not just in America. They're in Canada. They're in the UK, Australia. I had people ordering from Japan, the Philippines,
You
Africa,
had people ordering
South
from
America,
Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinidad and Tobago, Alex Beadon.
Let me tell you something. I was there, and it's so funny because I wasn't going to participate. And then I saw your stories. You were doing like this countdown on your stories. And I was like, I don't know. There was like 5 minutes left. And I was like, am I going to do this? And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to do this. I really want to win. But it took a minute and a half. And I think the person who won did it in like 28 seconds or something. Ridiculous.
28 seconds. I can't even take a breath in 28 seconds, let alone go through an entire transaction.
So wait, I'm going to pause you there because I really do want to break this down for people. So is the private pre-sale list the same thing as your email list?
Yes.
So when you say that you open the private pre-sale list for 30 days, technically, is that for, like, if I'm already on your list before that, does that mean that I'm on the private pre-sale list?
Correct. But when I say the private pre-sale list was open, it was a landing page that I created with MailChimp. So people from my Instagram were able to just click the link in my bio and go straight to the landing page for a month. Yeah.
I see. So, but if I was on your list before that, I would still be getting the email that's like, hey, you're on the private pre-sale list. Here's your special link. Get ready. It's happening.
Yes, exactly. So I didn't segregate or segment my mailing list just because the way that I've set it up, I know that it's mostly my customers. It's mostly either people who have interacted with the free downloads on my website, or they've purchased from me before and like either bought a printable, or they actually have purchased the planner. So I don't have a lot of weird subscribers coming from random places. It's very concentrated.
And so just to kind of give you a comparison for everyone who's listening, I, on the other hand, have a massive email list. People have come from all sorts of places. I don't have like one main product that I know everyone is here for. So I actually did mine separately. And like I said, this was not planned for me at all. I just kind of saw that you had a wait list and I was like, oh, I guess I should have a wait list too. And so I was like, if anyone wants to get on the wait list, at first I was just saying, get on the wait list and I'll give you behind the scenes info of my launch. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, I started changing it like a few days before to be like, get on the wait list and you're going to get 15% off the yearly membership price. And the first person who joins is going to get da-da-da-da-da. So you can do it differently. I did segment my list, but as Kat said, she did not segment her list, but she focused on that list building for 30 days prior to opening the carts, correct?
Correct. And if I did have a big list like yours where people were coming from all different sources, I would absolutely segment, because you don't want to be sending the same email to a purchased customer and then send that same email to someone who has never interacted with your brand before. So with your mailing list, like, don't take what I'm saying and apply it directly to your business. This is what works for me. So if you know that you have completely different segments, like, you have to create different emails for those people.
I really love what you just said there. I want to just highlight it so everyone listening can let that sink in. You are the expert on your business, on your ideal clients, on what it is that you offer and provide. No one else can understand what would be better for your people and what would make most sense from a marketing perspective other than you. So don't take exactly what Kat or what I'm saying and just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to apply it and do it word for word, plug by plug.
Yeah.
Really use your brain and understand that you are a smart, intelligent person and you can figure out how to make this work even better for you.
Yeah, because let's be honest, a lot of people are lazy and they listen to podcasts like this and they're like, okay, well, it worked for this person this way and she's selling a physical product or a digital product. So let me just take exactly what she did and apply it to my business and I'm going to get the same results. And then it doesn't work. And they're like, why didn't that work? Because as you just said, you are the business owner. You know what's best for you. This launch strategy took 4 years of tweaking for me to come up with. So it might not necessarily work for you, but we're here to give you the ideas, to provide you with inspiration, and just to prove to you that you don't need experience in this field to be successful. So preach, girl. I believe
Awesome.
that.
I love it. Okay. So you have 30 days of the pre-sale where you're trying to get people to get on the private list. Then you have 4 days where you are opening up the cart and saying, okay, guys, you can come join now. Only the people on the list are getting this special link. This is not a public opening of your product. That's 4 days where they get 10% off. Did you say?
So this year I did more. So I did 15% off and they received free gifts that were worth $39.99. And then for all of my Canadian orders, I prepaid their duties because I am in Toronto and I feel like nobody ever does that. So if you're going to pre-order and be there with me, I'm going to really give you as much as I can. I'm going to incentivize you as much as I can because I know you're my people. You're not just being lazy and saying, oh, I'll just buy it like in a few months. Like you're right there with me saying, okay, Kat's saying this, I have to buy it at this time. So I want to gift those people as much as possible. Like those are your day ones. Those are your tribe. Those are the people that are going to talk about you and sell your product so well when you're not even in the room. So if I can give them as much as I can, then that's what I'm going to do.
I love the focus that you have on serving your people and like giving them as much as you possibly can and knowing that they're your people and rewarding them for being there from such an early period of the launch. Like I think that's so brilliant and so beautiful. Okay, so then you have the 15% off, you have free gifts, you help with the shipping in Canada. You also have you're getting $500 if you're the first purchaser and you get the entire order for free. Then you close the cart after 4 days.
Mm-hmm. So then the cart closes after 4 days. And then on the Monday starts the public pre-sale, which is where I can share it on my Instagram. I can re-engage all the people who didn't purchase during the private pre-sale. And it's just open. It's open for everyone. And I can tag the product on my Instagram posts. I can create a link and link to it from my stories, put the link in my bio. So this is when it's like a free for all. It's like if you didn't buy during the private pre-sale, or maybe you just didn't sign up, this is where you're going to be purchasing. And that goes from Monday until Thursday at midnight.
But they don't get the 15% off, do they?
They don't.
Okay.
They don't get the 15% off. They received the $39.99 in free gifts. And they also will get their duties paid for, but they do not receive 15% off. So that's a pretty big discount. I never discount the planner. Maybe I've done 10%. That's the most I've ever done in the entire lifetime of the planner. So having 15% off is huge. And then missing out on that is like, it's sad. It's like you have FOMO. It's like, why didn't you get the 15% off? So a lot of my sales happened during that private pre-sale. I still got sales during the public pre-sale, but when I tell you I got the most within the first hour of opening the cart, like $32,000 out of the $75,000 that I generated happened in that first hour.
That's mind blowing. That's just so beautiful to my marketing ears. Okay.
Yeah.
Quick break in this epic show to feature a review that one of you guys left of this very podcast. I want to say special shout out to Sadra19, who is from Canada. She said, I like a dose of inspirational words as much as the next person, but I love how Alex's episodes are more than that. She puts out such practical, actionable advice and tips that immediately get my mind racing with new possibilities. Sadra19, thank you so much for that lovely review. And if you are listening to this show and enjoying it, which I assume you are because you've gotten this far, please do me a solid and head on over to the podcast app, search for On Purpose with Alex Beadon, select On Purpose with Alex Beadon, scroll all the way down, and then right above the recommended shows, you're going to see purple text that says write a review. Write a review. It literally takes less than 2 minutes and it helps support this show so much more than you can imagine. Thank you in advance. I appreciate it. Now let's get back to the goodness. So from there, you're closing the cart down after, I think you said Monday through Thursday. That's when it's the public, it's open to everyone. Then you close it down on Thursday. Then what happens?
So then what happens is it's not on sale until the official launch. So I'm still in that phase now. Pre-sale orders are hopefully going to start shipping tomorrow from my warehouse. So pre-sale orders also get shipped first. So if you pre-ordered my product, you're going to get it first. You're going to get to unbox it on social media first. You're going to get to be one of the first people to have their hands on it. And that's another incentive that you can give people, is receiving their products first before anyone else, particularly if you only have one product, like if you only give them access to one product. So the official launch will probably happen sometime next week. I'm still finalizing details, but the official launch doesn't happen till a month after the pre-order. So that was September 12th, and now it is October 17th. So there is quite a long period between when they have to wait to actually buy it. And what I realize now is that so many people were watching me launch this thing that it was just its own marketing. Like the pre-sale was incredibly effective in marketing the planner, because I didn't have to do anything. It was just me here in my apartment launching it from my desk with my laptop. And that was it. I don't have a fancy office. I don't have a team of 20 people. Mm-hmm. It was me and my phone on Instagram stories. Like when you were launching, I was like, this is me. This is literally me. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do like next week. I can't remember what day was your Project Storyline launch?
It was September 20th.
Okay, so it was after. So
yeah, it was after September 20th till October 1st.
Yeah, so I did mine on the 12th, and then I was watching your stories when you were launching. I was like, this is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. This is exactly what it looks like. And actually filmed my launch as well, so I have to work on that video. It's very like Beyonce documentary style.
Oh, I love it. So for anyone who's not following Kat, I highly recommend it. You have two main Instagram accounts. You've got at Kat Gaskin and you have at The Content Planner. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. They're two very different accounts, but you should follow both.
One thing I will say is that Kat and I are very similar in that we are so committed to helping our followers and audience. And like, we really want to share the nitty gritty behind the scenes details. What's so beautiful about your launch, Kat, that you just touched on, and that it's another layer of this launch strategy that I didn't include in my own launch this time because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of like, oh, we're just going to do this. But the beauty of it is that by having that pre-sale, like you said, it's building up so much momentum for people who are just kind of watching on the sidelines, who maybe weren't paying attention the first time, who are like, oh my God, like, Kat, when I watched your story on that first day and you were like, oh my God, we just made $32,000 in 1 hour, because she's sharing it as she's experiencing it, which is another beautiful thing about stories and just like the ability to share that with your followers. Everyone is invested in your story. Like everyone wants to see you win. We're all entrepreneurs. We all want to watch you win. And so it just felt like another really great way to build momentum for the next time that the cart opens. It's like, people have seen you succeed with it. People have been watching you I've been watching you over the past month, like traveling to different places and being at different conferences and speaking. And I've watched people unbox their content planners and you've continued to build that momentum for now when you're going to open the cart again. How long does the cart open, like the legit time? Because obviously before it was the pre-sale, this will be like, okay, it's open, you can order it and get it in your hands pretty quickly.
Yeah. So the official launch will happen and the cart will be open until it sells out. I only do one print run each year. So once it's sold out, there's no more, all gone. And it's sold out 3 years in a row. And we're on track now to sell out even faster because the pre-sale was so powerful. I'm guessing I'll probably sell it by January. And I really like that because when you're a business owner, like I don't want to be working on my business every single day. I have a life outside of this. I like to travel. I want to spend time with my boyfriend and my family. And I think people sometimes forget that you can create space in your business. You have the power to set it up however you want. So with the content planner, I was like, I only want one product. That is my pillar of my business. I don't want like 10,000 SKUs. I just want one. And it's going to be priced accordingly. It's only going to be available for sale a few months out of the year. And then the rest of the year, I can just focus on Instagram, which is my favorite thing. And so the cart is only open until the inventory has run out.
That is incredible. I love it so much. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the clock. We have 15 minutes left. I know. And I'm like, we definitely have to have you come back on the show because there's so much that I want to ask you. But I do want to talk about the work that went in. You said that you put 9 months worth of work before you actually even opened the cart and started getting any sales. And I think what people need to understand when they walk away from this podcast episode, earlier you said that you had said that date of when the pre-sale would be opening or when the waitlist would be closing or whatever the date was. You said that date every single day for 30 days leading up to it. I think so many business owners are afraid to come out and be like, this is what's happening. This is what you guys need to know. They're afraid to champion their own business and their own products and really educate their clients. And they're leaving so much money on the table just out of the fear of being annoying. So I would love for you to firstly walk us through, what does that 9 months look like from a content perspective? I know you said you're mainly on Instagram. So talk to us a little bit about what that looks like over the 9 month period.
Yeah. So 9 months. And it's funny you mentioned that because there is a spread in the 2019 planner. You don't have it, but it was something that I added because I wanted to be able to just map out my entire year at a glance. Mm-hmm. And so in my planner is the 2019 at a glance. So back in January, I looked at my September and I was like, this is going to be the pre-sale month. My goal is $100,000 in pre-sales. And this is when I want to start shipping. And this is the exact date. Like how long is it going to take you to decide on a date? It takes probably 2 minutes. And I planned this in January. So wrote that down in my planner. And it's literally just working backwards from that in terms of the amount of work. So one, I redesigned my website, which was a pivotal move. I worked with a graphic designer and a Shopify developer to revamp the website. I started doing workshops. So in-person, live, 2-day intensive workshops with people, which was great marketing. Like we could do a whole nother podcast episode about how events and conferences and retreats are like the new content marketing. Like that for me
let's just
huge.
Book that in.
Huge. So
I'm taking
so I started to show up more on people's stories because I was getting on stages. I spoke in Barcelona. I've done a ton of events. My first one was in February. I spoke in Calgary in person. And then I spoke in Barcelona in July. Whenever someone would ask me to be on a panel or to come to their event or to speak about anything related to my business, I said yes, even if it was unpaid, because I don't have any experience in public speaking, but I know that it's a captive audience. And guess what people are going to be doing at the conference? They're going to be Instagramming it and showing it on their social and tagging me. So that was a key part of creating a new marketing channel. You can't just use Instagram. You can't just use online marketing. You need to go out there and connect with people. So I started doing that, and production. That was huge. Getting things on time. Like even right now, I'm dealing with a tissue paper fiasco because my tissue paper is somewhere, God knows where it is right now in America. And all of the pre-sale orders are waiting to be packed. And I'm getting I just got a text from my assistant saying, Kat, I'm getting so many emails from people asking where their planner is. And it's because this one order of tissue paper hasn't arrived and it's part of my package. So FYI, that's e-commerce life for you, waiting for things to arrive. You have to make sure that your manufacturing process and your fulfillment process is on time. So I started planning for the 2020 production. I started planning it in March. I have a head of manufacturing. She's incredible. So she handles all of that. That's new for me this year. I've done it all 3 years past. So I brought her on board and she was able to offload the manufacturing side. Then I started doing online training. So I have a free 7-day planner challenge where I walk people through how to use the content planner and also how to plan their content marketing using the planner. Even if they don't have the planner, they can still get so much value from it. I share my hashtag strategy. I talk about how you can create a hit list and secure collaborations. I talk about my batch creation my batch creation process, all free. It's a 7-day video challenge and it takes 38 minutes, which is probably less than your last Netflix episode. And I was like, let me put this just open for free and people can use it. And I leveraged it in a way that got people excited about their content again, because it's this huge question mark. Nobody really knows how to content plan. And that's what I realized this year is I'm talking about something that no one else is really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was throughout the year, January, February. I relaunched the planner challenge in June. And I was still at the time selling the 2019 planner, which is the lavender planner. And also when I say work, I mean writing in my content plan, like how I'm going to show up for my community every single day, whether that's sharing testimonials or doing an Instagram live, walking them through how to plan their content, or taking them along with me on a behind the scenes, how I shoot content in my apartment with a $2 piece of card and my camera, or doing a poll and asking them, okay, what colors do you want for 2020? Like I was constantly engaging with them and asking them to not just like and comment, because I think, and Alex, I'd love for you to chime in on this, but likes and comments for me, like I don't really care anymore about the likes and comments.
Mm-hmm.
But if my DMs are full of messages and people are resharing my content, like those are the two metrics for me on how I measure engagement. So Alex, how do you measure engagement on your Instagram?
I would say DMs. And it even kind of piggybacks off of what I said at the beginning, where I'm looking at how many DMs am I, how many replies am I getting on my stories?
Mm-hmm.
And the ones with the most replies, how can I turn that into content? And then if we're talking about feed posts, I'm looking at bookmarks. Like I think bookmarks are such a good indicator of, oh, this is good content that I want to come back to.
Yeah. And I also think the algorithm now really likes the bookmark save feature and also the repost feature.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling. I mean, the algorithm is very complicated and it's so unpredictable, but now that's how I'm feeling. And I actually switched my content strategy as well. And I have a very similar story to you and your latest post. I shared this one Instagram post. It was a similar infographic where I said, here's like your daily 5 Instagram task routine. And I just put like 5 simple tasks that you can do on Instagram every day to build your engagement. And I shared that. And it is my top performing post. It has like 1.6 thousand saves or 1.6 thousand saves. It had like 2,000 reshares. And it was content that I had been sharing in my emails as part of my automation. Like I had already done it.
Yeah.
It was done for like 2 years. And I was like, hold on, why haven't I ever shared this on Instagram? And it was literally a matter of me just putting it into an infographic and sharing it. It's crazy.
What I'm trying to say is like, I just feel like I've spent so long trying to like come up with new stuff. And I'm just like, no, I have so much existing stuff. Let me just recycle what I already have. So I love that you did that. Okay. I want you to talk to me quickly about the hit list.
Yes. So the hit list, which I have a very great example. Essentially, the hit list is a list of your dream clients, brands, accounts that you either want to get featured on, you want to work with, you want to collaborate with, maybe you want to get on their podcast. And it's a list that you write down, and there's actually a section in the content planner for that. And it's something that I created because when I first started, I didn't have the content planner, but I had a list of accounts that I wanted to get featured on with Salty Pineapple, like Lululemon and Billabong and Roxy and all those beach lifestyle brands. And I wrote down a giant list, and like clockwork, every night I would either reach out to them and email them, maybe something I designed for them. I would follow their account. I would spam them. I would message them. I would get like to the point where people started blocking me because I was getting so annoying for brands. But I knew that it was working.
Yeah.
Because when I created those opportunities, when I just stopped waiting and I started creating those opportunities, going out there, getting in front of the brands that I wanted to work with, yeah, a lot of them said no, but the ones who said yes were the ones who I started building relationships with and who started sending me free products, who started hiring me to create content for them. And now, like, there are brands that I reached out to 6 years ago. I still work with them now, and we have such a solid working relationship. They repost your content, they'll feature you, they'll send you free products, they'll have you involved in their influencer campaigns. And that's how I started off with the hit list, was just this focused list of 1 to 20 accounts. There's what, 1 billion people on Instagram. Like, you're not trying to work with 1 billion people. You're only really trying to work with maybe 20, maybe 15 accounts. Like, imagine if you had 15 solid relationships with people that could level up your business. And so 2 years ago, I actually added Alex Beadon to my hit list. And I have it written down in my planner. And I was like, she is exactly who I want to align myself with. I feel like the content planner would be perfect for her. Did you have Double Down in your DMs then 2 years ago?
No.
You had a digital product.
I did. I had a digital product, but 2 years ago, 2017, I don't think I made Double Down in Your DMs until summer 2018.
Okay.
But back then I was working, I think I was relaunching the School of Killer Impressions.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, that's what you're doing. And you were an incredible marketer. And I was like, it's people and businesswomen like this who I need the content planner to get in their hands. I would love to chat with her about anything marketing related. And I just really respected how you built your brand. And I knew that your customers were also my customers. So I wrote your name down on this list. And I remember DMing you and you responded back. And then I sent you a planner, which was so incredible. I was like, holy shit. Like, she actually said yes. And then I think you were traveling. You were in Europe, in Paris.
It was a whole drama.
It was a whole mess.
It was a whole drama because I'm in Trinidad, and to get something sent to Trinidad, it got here like 4 months later, something ridiculous.
Yeah. Luckily, the planner is fillable, so you can still use it whenever you receive it. So that was a prime example of writing someone down on your hit list and also not giving up on it, because 2 years later, I'm now on your podcast talking to your community about the content planner. Yeah. So the thing that I always remind people about their hit lists is, 1, to really keep it focused on the people you actually do want to work with. And 2, to never give up. Don't just leave it if they don't reply back. Like, keep on hitting them up. Keep on doing your thing so that maybe one day they'll watch your story and they'll DM you and you can create that relationship. So it's an 80-20 rule. Like, if you reach out to 10 accounts, 80% are probably going to say no, or they won't read your message, but 2 of them will. And that could turn into a beautiful relationship over like a span of a few years. So that's what a hit list is.
Thank you so much for saying the 80-20 rule, because I get messages from people who are like, oh, I tried this and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, how many times did you try it? And they're like, oh, I tried it twice. And I'm like, this is a numbers game and you're going to get way more no's than yeses. So
you're going to you're going to get so many no's.
Yeah.
Like, I've DM'd Oprah because I was like, you know what?
Why not?
If Oprah's not going to come to me, I will go to Oprah. You just never know who's going to read your message, who is watching you on social media. And that's why it's so key to be consistent with your content, continuing to introduce yourself. And every day, like, I wake up and I simply just ask, how can I serve my people today? How can I teach them something? How can I make them feel better about their business? And how can I give them resources that will make them more successful? I think a lot of people forget about that aspect of social media, is the service part.
Oh, so good. Another thing that I just wanted to highlight is the fact that you said that you knew that my audience was your audience. So Kat was being very strategic, which is what I'm always trying to tell you guys, is reverse engineer the result that you want. So if you want to get in front of more of your ideal clients, it's going to be way faster for you to do that by getting in front of someone else's audience who shares the same audience, right? So she wasn't just picking cool people. She was picking people strategically who she knew it would be beneficial for her to collaborate with in some way, shape, or form. So
yeah. And one tip I can offer is if you find someone on Instagram and you think their feed is beautiful and their feed kind of matches your feed, one thing that I look at, like the one feature that dictates whether I want to work with someone or not, is how many mutual followers we have. So if I go on Alex's account, we probably have a ton of mutual followers.
yeah.
If you go on someone's Instagram account from your business account and they only have like one mutual follower, that is not someone you want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go on someone's account and they have like 100 mutual followers or 200, that's ideal. Like I'm looking at your account right now and we have 73 mutual followers,
mm-hmm.
which is pretty big.
Yeah.
So that's a great metric for you to use to gauge whether someone aligns with your business or not, having those mutual followers.
That's awesome. Okay, so we are going to move into the wrap-up questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so what is the one thing that you do that has been a non-negotiable in the success of your business?
I will always continue running my Instagram. I will always do Instagram stories. I will always create content for me and my business. I will never hand that off. I will hand off every single piece of my business except for my Instagram.
Share a mindset shift that has made the biggest difference in your life as an entrepreneur.
A mindset shift for me has been, you can't be what you can't see. So what that means is, for me as a woman of color and someone who didn't necessarily grow up seeing women who looked like me being as successful as I was, or talking about money the way I was, I decided to be that woman for myself. And I think really stepping into that purpose, it's completely changed everything. So now I'm able to show up for people who not only look like me and who can resonate with my message, but also like I just feel so centered and grounded with what I do. So you can't be what you can't see. Michelle Obama, quoting Michelle Obama.
Beautiful. The world would be a better place if more people knew blank.
If more people knew that being successful and getting there isn't hard, it doesn't have to be a struggle. It's actually really, really easy once you find something that you love and that you're passionate about and that plays to your strengths.
The book that changed my life was
Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
And then lastly, I would love for you to challenge our listeners to do something this week, to take some sort of action step or to focus on something this week. What would you like to challenge our listeners to do?
So I challenge your listeners to go on Instagram stories and introduce yourself, because I'm sure, like we talked about, there are a lot of you right now who are wondering, okay, like what's the next step? What do I do with all this information now that I have it? Do your Instagram story introduction. Say, hi, my name is blank. This is what I do. This is my business, and this is how I can help you. And then including a call to action with that. And I would do it in like 5 Instagram stories. Don't create the dreaded ant trail. Just go and share it within 5 stories. I actually did an Instagram series of polls where I asked people what annoyed them about Instagram stories. And a lot of people hate when there's like that dreaded ant trail and that you're just talking on and on and on and on. So I also asked them what the magic number was. And it was around the 5 to 6 story mark. So if you can start off with a beginning, middle, and end, and then a call to action with 5 to 6 Instagram stories, you're it. That's the most powerful content you can share. So once you finish this podcast, go on Instagram stories, introduce yourself, talk about your business, talk about what you do, remind people about how you can help them, and then go tell them to buy your product. Like, don't be afraid. I have never in my life of being on Instagram had anyone tell me, Kat, you're really annoying and I'm going to unfollow you. And even if they did, go right ahead. Like, that's fine. You're going to be missing out on the most incredible content. So if that's what you want to do, go do it. Like, you can't let that fear get in the way of your own success. You're sabotaging yourself. No one is going to tell you that you're annoying. And
That's
if they
so
do,
funny.
that's totally fine. I'm blocked by a lot of accounts because I was annoying. But that didn't faze me in any sort of way because I know that what I'm sharing is high value. And if they want to unfollow you, if they want to block you, like those aren't your people.
Kat, you are such an intelligent, impressive marketing guru expert. I love everything that you've shared with us today. And for everyone listening, if you love my stories and if you love my content, I can tell you, you are going to love Kat's. So like I said, go and find her at The Content Planner on Instagram and at Kat Gaskin on Instagram. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it on your stories. And I love when you guys share screenshots. That's cool. But I really love it when you share your big takeaways. So if you're going to share it, make sure to tag both of us. Kat, which account would you prefer that they tag of yours?
I would probably prefer the Content Planner account. So at
Perfect.
The Content Planner, because we talked so much about the launch strategy.
We did.
And it's more related to my business. Kat Gaskin is very much my personal brand and Sunsets Hawaii Pineapples. But if you want to tag both, go right ahead. But at The Content Planner is what you want to do.
Amazing. So tag at Alex Beadon and at The Content Planner. And we look forward to hearing your biggest takeaways from this episode. Kat, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I know already this is not going to be your last time.
Yeah. I mean, you're not getting rid of me now. But again, thank you so much, Alex. You put so much work into these podcasts. And even from the ones that I've listened to, I learned so much from women like you. And no one is really doing what you're doing. No one is sharing the numbers and the process and the behind the scenes like you are. And I just can't wait to see what is in store for you for, 2020 and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you so much, my love. If you've reached this far in the episode, that must mean that you loved what you just heard. And I want to say thank you for listening. I also want to prompt you to take a simple action step that would really make my day and really help support what I do here on the show. I would deeply appreciate it if you could take 2 minutes of your time to leave us a review. To do it, it's super simple. You're just going to open the podcast app on your phone, search for On Purpose with Alex Beadon, scroll down until you see the ratings and reviews section, and then tap the Write a Review button. Your reviews are what help support this show. So please, if you are enjoying this content, take the 60 seconds that it will take and go and write a review. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I want you to know how much I appreciate your attention. I want to thank you for listening.